Hey you guys, welcome back to episode 2 of Sooner Girl Sports Pod. And I first of all would like to thank everyone who listened last week and downloaded and shared with your friends and all of the likes and subscribes on social media and across all the podcast apps. I'm very thankful for you guys. It has been overwhelming support this last week across all of the platforms and I'm super thankful for that. I had a goal this week to try to reach 350 Facebook likes and 150 Instagram, and I have met that. So I'm super thankful for that to everyone who has shared with your friends. I appreciate you very much. And please, if you haven't, please do that. I have a goal that I would like to meet, and so I would love for you to help me contribute to that goal. And I know this doesn't sound like a lot, but for me, I wasn't quite sure what to expect for week 1 for my listeners, but I had 175 people listen to the podcast last week on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. So if you listened last week and now you're back, welcome back. Or if this is your first time to listen in or watch, welcome. I am just a girl who loves OU sports, and it is my goal to have a safe space for women to talk about their love for Sooner sports and all things about all OU sports. And this is just a place for women to take up space in the sports world. And I'm working on starting a community. Now, my podcast is for men and women, of course, because I realize that everyone loves sports and I would love to have everyone listening in, but I'm working on making a safe community just for girls to have, for us to come in and share our memories and stories and photos and thoughts and ideas and everything just pertaining to OU sports. And so if you're interested in something like that, please stay tuned because I will have some more details regarding that here in the next few weeks. Some of you may have seen my sneak peek I posted on social media. I believe it was Monday night. I do have some merch that's available. I have some shirts and stickers with my logo, and there will be some hats coming soon as well. And so I posted a little sneak peek the other day, and I had quite a few people asking about it. So stay tuned. That merch link is coming soon, and it will be available. So you guys, please go and buy my merch and support me. And if you do purchase, please take your photo and tag me on social media so that I can share it. Or if you just want to send it to me, if you don't want me to share it, that's totally fine. But let me see all the bling that you get to support my podcast. And I'm just super thankful for all of you who have been so excited just to jump on this journey with me. It's actually been overwhelming. I was shocked. I didn't really know what to expect, because I know there's a lot of girls who are OU fans and love the sports the way that I do. But, when you start something like this, you never really know who's going to actually join in or, maybe somebody who doesn't normally listen to podcasts has decided that they want to start listening to a podcast. And I've had a few people like that, and that is just so cool to me. So thank you very much for that. So again, please like and follow and subscribe across all my social media platforms. TikTok is back for now, so I'm on there, of course, and downloads and subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple. Those numbers are very important, and they kind of help me gauge who's actually listening and on what platform, so I know what kind of adjustments to make. So I appreciate those of you who are doing that. Another question that I wanted to ask is, I want this to be a show that you look forward to. So if there's something that you want to ask me or talk about on the show, just shoot me a message on social media or shoot me an email. I have a list of some guests. I'm looking at starting to schedule a few guests here in the next few weeks, but I was wanting to work out some kinks in my system before I start inviting other people on my journey, because I don't want to waste anyone's time. If there's something you want to hear more about or a question you have for me, please absolutely send it my way. So the first thing I wanted to talk about today is this past week, actually about a week and a half ago, I was talking to some friends online and then another friend at my church, and they both had mentioned this one particular girl who's from my hometown, and I didn't know her, but I knew of her, and we weren't friends on social media or anything, but she had just started her own podcast called Midlife Catalyst, and they started explaining to me what it was about and what she was doing, and I was just like, this is amazing. And so I emailed her randomly and was just like, Hi, this is my name. I'm from your hometown. I also just started a podcast, and here's what I'm doing. And we got to talking, and turns out she's a huge OU fan, and we had a lot more in common than we thought. So we hopped on last week, and she interviewed me for her podcast, and that will be coming out, I believe she said next week. So I'll be sure and post all those links for that so you can listen to her as well. I did post a clip from our conversation over the weekend, I believe, and I have another clip I'm going to share here soon, but we talked for 2 hours, and it was such a refreshing conversation to talk to someone a fellow woman in her midlife who is starting a new adventure and pursuing her passions and trying to create a safe space for women on the internet, and it was just such a neat conversation. And so that was just like a confirmation to me in that I was doing the right thing by starting this podcast, because not only have I had the overwhelming support of people just reaching out to me, but just talking with her along her journey and being interviewed by her, it was just a confirmation that us women in our midlife, we can start new adventures, we can have a good time, we can create a safe space for each other on this wild and crazy internet. So I'm very excited about that interview to come out, and I'm actually going to have her on my show here sometime soon. I want to interview her. Like I said, she's an OU fan as well, being from Oklahoma, so we had a lot in common. And so it was a great conversation, and it's always good to have new connections. Like, I've been just randomly messaging people on Instagram and TikTok, just introducing myself, started following athletes and things like that. I'm just trying to get my name out there and get my podcast out there and get it listened to. So again, for those that are sharing and helping spread the word, I truly appreciate it, because that means more than you'll ever know. So we're going to delve into a few different sports this week, and first we're going to talk about football. So obviously, we're all still trying to recover from the bowl game, I think, and there's still a lot of rumors going around about the whole DC situation and what's going on and who is going to be our defensive coordinator at the University of Oklahoma in the fall. And here we are on Tuesday, January 21st, and we still don't know who that person is. And there are some speculations on who that might be. I've heard people talking about Jim Knowles, who obviously is the DC for Ohio State, who won the national championship last night. And then I've heard Brandon Hall, who may be promoted to that position. I have a lot of feelings about both of those people either way. I will just say, I've met Brandon Hall. I know people that know him. He has family from my hometown, and he's a great guy. I think he's very smart defensively, and he could do a very good job at that position. So if that's an internal promotion, I wouldn't necessarily be disappointed. If we bring in someone like Jim Knowles, I certainly wouldn't be disappointed there. I don't know. Apparently he has some connections to the state of Oklahoma. So I don't know why you would want to leave a program like Ohio State, where you just won the national championship and are clearly doing an exceptional job at your job. I can't help but wonder, what would provoke him to want to leave that situation? We don't know. But I'm thinking, I was listening to Teddy and Gabe over the weekend, and they agree with pretty much what I've heard along the lines of everyone on the internet. We think in the next few days we may have an answer to the DC question. And I'm excited for that, because I think we need to get that person named. If there is a spring window for the transfer portal, we definitely need to have someone in place for that, because who knows how that will affect the comings and goings and such. So I think it's very important to get that name out there sooner rather than later. Let's talk a little bit about the NFL playoffs. Okay, our man Jalen and Grant Calcaterra and Lane Johnson, they play for the Eagles, and they are playing this weekend for their conference championship for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And of course, all of our Sooners that we have on the Chiefs, Hollywood Brown, Creed Humphrey, McCade, Wanye Morris, Samaje, and James Winchester. Those are all of our Chiefs Sooners. They play this weekend as well. I'm really looking forward to those games. I think they're going to be incredible. And there were some great games this past weekend. I'm still mourning over Baker's loss last weekend, but that's okay. He has really gotten himself into a great position in Tampa Bay, I think. So I'm just looking forward to great things for him going forward. And of course, our Texans lost this past weekend, and Joe Mixon, he had a great season down in Houston, and he was so much fun to watch. I hate that his season came to an end, but we still have a lot of Sooners left in the playoffs. Somebody's going to end up in the Super Bowl, and it's going to be super fun to watch, and I definitely cannot wait for that. Okay, who's following men's basketball? Had anyone else kind of given up on them about a week ago after last Wednesday night? Well, I don't want to say I've given up on them. That sounds bad. It's not that I'd given up on them, but I went to the Texas game last Wednesday night, and Texas came to Norman as an 0-3 team, and I thought, 0-3 team coming into Norman, we can do this. Okay. We basically just crapped the bed for the first 25 minutes of that game. It was terrible. I was not happy, not impressed. But then they came back out in the second half, and for the majority of the second half, they played exceptional. Dayton Forsyth came off the bench, and he just really helped ignite that team. And I know he didn't have the stats that night to show it, but that kid really helped turn around coming off the bench, just light up that team. And he did the same thing this past Saturday when our guys finally won against South Carolina at home. They needed that win so bad, and they ended up winning by 20 points. And I was so thankful. And again, Dayton Forsyth coming off the bench and coming in and getting it done. And he is so exciting to watch. And I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I actually have a connection with him. His aunt is a very good friend of mine, and he is such a sweet kid, and he is so talented. And to see him getting that playing time as a freshman is just incredible. And I'm so excited for him to be getting that opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to watching him throughout the years to come. In our girls basketball, so I hope that she's listening, but I've always been a big fan of Peyton Furholst. So when I started all my podcasts and my social media, I started following her on Instagram. Well, it wasn't long after that she started following me back, and some of her family started following me back. Well, I kind of, girl crush a little bit. And so I've talked to her a little bit back and forth on social media, and she's just the sweetest thing. And for her just to entertain me is just super thrilling to me. And so first of all, Peyton, if you're listening, thank you for listening, and thank you for entertaining me, because you've truly made my day, just our little conversations that we've had. And I am hoping to meet her when I head up to another women's game in the next few weeks or so. But she had a stellar game the other night at home. I believe she had like 38 career high points. And she's just so much fun to watch. And it's always extra special when you get someone who is performing well, but they're also like a good person, and you know that they're super sweet. That's just really cool, like an added cherry on top. So Peyton, if you're listening, big fan of you. Thanks again, and I'm hoping to meet you soon. Our women's gymnastics. Okay, so I haven't made it to a meet yet, and usually I have in January. I've tried to make a meet, and I'm just chomping at the bit, but I do have plans to go in a couple of weeks. They're away this coming weekend at Alabama, and so I'll be watching that one online, but they're ranked number 1 in the nation. We have 3 different athletes for 3 weeks in a row that have 3 different all-around titles, and they're all 3 ranked in the top 10 in the nation. Faith Torres, Jordan Bowers, and Audrey Davis. Those girls, if you're not following our women's gymnastics team, even our men's gymnastics team, they're very talented as well, you're missing out, because these athletes are incredible. Our men hosted a home meet 2 weekends ago. They did win it. This past weekend they had a meet in Colorado. They unfortunately did not win that meet, but they did perform very well, and they're just so much fun to watch. And so if you're interested in attending the next home women's meet, it's on Friday the 7th. The men have one on Saturday, February the 8th. I encourage you to get out there and just go check it out, because I promise you, you will not be disappointed. It's so much fun to watch. The guys usually don't have a big crowd, and they are in the McCaslin Fieldhouse. They usually don't have a big crowd, so get out and support those guys. The girls, they'll fill up Lloyd Noble, so get your tickets for sure and come join in, because those girls, I'm really looking forward to seeing them in person here in a few weeks. So looking ahead a little bit to our diamond sports that we're starting here, and then in the next month. We open baseball in less than a month, and we open softball at home in about a month, and I cannot wait to get back to Love's Field. Okay, it's one of my favorite places to be, and it's a good day when I can make a softball game and a baseball game in one day. I've done it before. It's a long day, but it's incredible. But our baseball guys, I think I mentioned this before, but they did get left out of the top 25 preseason poll, and we're all a little frustrated by that. But Kyson Witherspoon has been getting a lot of preseason All-American notice, and I'm very proud of him for getting that recognition. I think he's really going to live up to it this season, and he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And y'all get out to the Dale Mitchell Park this season and watch those baseball guys. You can even go sit out on the berm for free. I think pretty much any game. You can go sit out there, and it's not very expensive to get into the stadium, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a great spring sport, so when the weather's nice and you want to go hang out at the ballpark, that's a great place to go. As for softball, it's a little harder to get tickets, but if you have an opportunity to get out to Lowe's Field, I highly encourage you to do so. The standing room only tickets are what will be available from the university here in the next couple of weeks, but I encourage you, if you get an opportunity, to get out and support those girls. They are so fun to watch. I was able to get out to a fall ball game back in October, and again, the stadium was packed, and it was fall ball. It was just for fun, basically, but just a chance to see those girls and get started on the season. It's just, the talent is incredible, and to think that we lost literally half of our roster this past year to graduation, and we lost a couple to the portal, but here we are coming back just guns a-blazing. We got tons of talent that came in from the portal, a great freshman class, and we did have one player, Sophia Bordy, who reclassified to the class of 25, so she will be in the dugout this spring. She's an exceptional pitcher, Gatorade Player of the Year, I believe, from her state. I don't know if she's going to get any playing time. That'll be interesting to see, but she did reclassify. She is in Norman, and she will be in the dugout in the spring. So it will be interesting to see her in the pitching lineup this spring. One funny thing I did notice this past weekend were our tennis guys. There is a guy, and I don't want to butcher his name, Bruno Naveen. He's a big dude, and a lot of people were commenting on his size and like, hey dude, do you want to play football? Like, do you want to try out to be a lineman? And so he put out a challenge last weekend and said, if we get 500 spectators at our tennis match this weekend, I will try out for the football team. Now, I don't know if he has any experience on the football field or if he was just having a good time, but he put that out there, and then he came back later and sadly reported that there were not 500 people there, but he said the offer still stands for this coming weekend. So if you're in Norman, get out to the tennis matches. They are free, and bring your friends, because if we get 500 people, then Bruno Naveen is going to try out for the football team. And if you don't know who he is, you should look him up, because that kid's big, and I wouldn't be sad if he could play two sports. Okay, so I wanted to end the show with a fun fact. So my husband, he got me a calendar, and it's a daily calendar, and it has a different fun fact about OU sports on it each day. And so the one I have for today is about softball, because softball season is upon us, and I'm just really getting in the mood for the diamond sports. So my Sooner fun fact for the day is, for the first time in 18 years of the Women's College World Series, the 2023 edition of the Championship Series was a rematch of a previous matchup. Who was OU's opponent in 2023? It was a team that the Sooners had also beaten in 2021. It was Florida State. And I don't know about you guys, if you regularly watch the World Series, which the Women's College World Series is one of my favorite things to watch, even if OU isn't in the mix, which luckily they have been the last handful of years especially. They're so much fun to watch. Florida State's an exceptional team. Like Lonnie Alameda, she's a Sooner. She is a fantastic coach, and I love watching her. They actually came to Norman a couple of years ago, and my niece and I went to that game, and it was a lot of fun. Of course, we beat them our last season at Marita Hines. Lonnie Alameda is a fantastic coach. She always has a great squad there in Florida State, and they usually almost always make it to the Women's College World Series. And the fact that OU has beaten them twice in the last 4 years is pretty remarkable. So I'm looking forward to this year for the Women's College World Series. I really think that we have the talent to make a good run for it. And again, a shameless plug for my friend Tyler McComas. If you're a big softball fan and you don't already listen to his podcast called Diamond Envy, I encourage you to look it up and go find it on Apple Podcasts, and he's also on YouTube. You won't be disappointed. Well, that is all I have for this week, and again, I want to thank you so much for joining in for my Sooner Sports recap, and I have a special episode lined up for next week. I am actually going to have a guest that I'm going to have on and talk to next week, so I hope that you come back next week for episode 3. So thank you for joining me this week. On Wednesday, we talk OU sports, and I hope to see you next week.